I'm not really into sports. For the most part, I find them pretty boring. Whenever there's a lot of motion and constant action, I find it entertaining, but there's rarely any action. Take football, for example. Most of the time, it's just a group of like 30 people slowly walking to their line, running into each other for like 5 seconds, and then doing the same thing over the course of 4 hours. However, if there's a play where a guy catches a ball and runs like 40 yards without being tackled, I don't care if he's on my team or not, that's exciting. But just because there's a lot of movement doesn't mean anything is actually happening. Take hockey, for instance. Most of the game is just people skating back and forth and punching people in the head. But when the average goals per game is usually less than the amount of hours there are in a game, it just feels like...
Always Mr. Duckworth.
Like, imagine if basketball averaged 1 3-pointer, 3 regular points, and 2 free throws per game. Wouldn't be as exciting now, would it? Oh, real quick, I just need to go on this tangent. Why does the NHL have an IMDb page? It's not like anyone is actually critically analyzing the deep filmmaking aspects that go into each game. Damn, the Los Angeles Kings have been in more episodes than anyone else. Let's see what else they've been in. Man, they've had a really rough career. Okay, I need to get back on track. Physical sports are either too slow for me to care about or are the equivalent of a 4-hour YouTube essay about, like, milk or something. You're saying words, but there's just nothing really happening. I swear to God, if someone makes a 4-hour video essay about milk after this video, I'm gonna shit myself. So even though sports are the only reason that cable packages are still allowed to be sold, my time is just far too valuable to be disappointed when a group of millionaires can't handle balls as well as the other team. Now, mental sports, that's a completely different story. Mind games, as the Wikipedia page calls them, are less about beating your opponent through acts of athleticism and are more so about beating your opponent mentally. These range from board games, card games, reality TV show competitions, video games, and schoolyard games of 2 truths and a lie. There aren't a whole lot of mind games that have reached competitive status, but the ones that have, I find surprisingly interesting. Even though I have no attachment to any specific chess player out there, it's still enthralling watching 2 mental gymnasts decimate each other over a tiny piece of wood. There's absolutely no other way to accurately describe chess. The one problem with mind sports is the fact that you need to understand many of the small intricacies of the game in order to fully enjoy it. So it's a good thing I played Red Dead Redemption as a child. I have no idea why, but just watching professional poker is so fascinating to me. The fact that these master, let's be honest, cheats and liars are willing to risk hundreds, thousands, even millions of dollars at a time just for a chance at leaving with like $5 more than they came in with is just incredibly entertaining for some reason. And I've narrowed down the reasons why I like poker to the 5 S's. But before we get into it, I just want to put a disclaimer here. I am no professional. I just like watching poker and playing it recreationally on occasion. But that does not mean that I am great at it. I've never put real money on the table, so my experience is very limited. However, if for some reason this video compels you to start playing poker with actual money, then the best piece of advice I can give you is to never put more money in than you are willing to lose, and take advice from actual professionals. Now, with that out of the way, let's get back into it. The first S is suspense. To illustrate my point with this, I want to talk about the movie The Sting. So, The Sting is about 2 con artists coming together to con this one wealthy guy who screwed them both over. There's this one scene where Paul Newman's character is supposed to play a game of poker with this one guy, Lonigan, but he's very clearly out of his prime, and during the game he's being watched by one henchman. Now, Paul Newman has been sweeping the table and he's won almost every game, so now Lonigan is getting pissed. Now, we know that he's going to cheat, so Paul Newman is going to cheat too, but we don't know if he's going to succeed or not, and the whole plan revolves around him winning. So, now it's the final hand. 5-card draw. Paul Newman's got 3 threes. That's a pretty good hand. Lonigan's got 2 nines. Not great. Paul Newman takes 2 cards. Lonigan takes 3. Now we see their hands. Paul Newman's got 4 threes, and that's a great hand. But then, we see Lonigan's hand. 4 nines. That's even better. He goes all in and bets an extra 10,000. Paul Newman would be stupid not to call that, and that's the scam. He calls. Lonigan reveals his hand. He's about to win. Paul Newman reveals his hand. He's smiling.
4 jacks.
But of course, when Paul Newman does it, it's considered a cool scene. When I do it, I get escorted out of the casino. Now, The Sting is an amazing film, and you should watch it, but something this scene illustrates very well is the suspense of a high-stakes poker game, specifically in movies. Most films that depict poker are able to use suspense in order to grab the audience's attention. Casino Royale, I'm watching it for that scene where everyone's hand is better than the last person's. Does it make sense? No, but it's really fun to watch. Now, everyone else, of course, is watching it for... Molly's Game is a pretty boring movie all around, but the poker scenes are alright. That scene where Michael Cera is playing super confidently, trying to bait the other guy to fold, isn't like a great scene or anything, but I mean, it's pretty fun to watch.
Fuck you.
Hey, come on, Michael, you don't need to get mad or anything. This applies to pretty much every way poker is depicted in both media and in real life. When you play Red Dead Poker and you're losing like every hand, but then you suddenly get dealt that one hand that's gonna bring you back, but you can't tell if your opponent has those 2 cards that can possibly destroy you, that's when the game is at its most fun. I remember this one time I was playing Texas Hold'em with my friends and I was losing the whole night, but then one time I got dealt 2 spades, and just before the last card was drawn, there were only 2 spades on the table, and I went all in hoping the last card would be a spade. My heart was racing at like 180, and then finally, the card was drawn. Boom! Spade. I revealed my hand and won with an ace-high flush. It was euphoric. Even in professional poker, where you know exactly which cards the players have, the real entertainment comes from the players trying to trick the others. And this is where the second S comes into play. Number 2. Strategy. Even though the basic poker match is reliant on luck and having a good hand dealt to you, there are still elements of strategy. For this, we need to take a look at the list of video games with poker in it. Now, anyone that's played Red Dead Redemption knows that the best strategy is all in on a high card. All in on a high card! Sometimes it's really easy to cheese the AI in these games. Like if you put a high enough bet on a hand that would normally cause you to go on welfare in any other circumstance, and the bots just crap out and fold. This isn't a great long-term strategy, seeing as the bots can just call it and win with a higher card, but hey, if it works, it works. Now, should you do this at a regular casino match? I mean, you do you, man. It dates back to the classic song. You gotta know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, know when to walk away, and know when to run. And personally, I think the best time to run would be when the man across from you pulls out a sawed-off shotgun and points it directly at your head, but that's just me, I guess.
Clearly, these police are not familiar with the standard rule set of poker.
Now, even though my strategies are completely infallible, all in on a high card, watching the actual strategies that professional uses give me the inspiration to gamble harder. Take a look at this clip featuring Jason Moe and Richard Young. The names aren't exactly important, I'm not going to be talking about them for the rest of the video, but it's important for this clip. Now, Young is dealt 2 8s and Moe has Queen Jack, and on the flop, Young now has an 8-10 full house, but even though he has a good hand immediately, he still plays it cool, tries to ease his opponent into it. Mo's hoping he's going to get a straight on the next 2 card flips, but he's unaware that Young already has the winning hand, and Young doesn't want to spook him. Card gets flipped, it's a 9. Mo has his straight, but Young is already guaranteed to win. Young checks and baits Mo into betting, then he plays it cool and then he raises him. Mo reluctantly calls, then the river card is drawn and it's the final 8. Suddenly, his hand just got upgraded. Young knows he has a guaranteed win and goes all in, knowing he can't bait Mo into giving him any more money. And then Mo folds. This whole hand is expertly played, but let's change the scenario here. What if Young played the exact same way but had a much worse hand, like an ace and a 6? Even though he would have nothing, it's still a great play for him to bluff in this case. The flop implies that he could have a full house, and the river play making Mo think that he would have a 4 of a kind. It's possible for Young to have tricked Mo into folding the winning hand and for him to take all of the money from nothing. And this leads into the third S. Number 3. Skill. A good player is capable of turning a 7 high card into a winning hand, and that's mainly due in part to a poker player's number 1 greatest weapon. Deception. The number 1 rule in poker is to have a poker face. Hide your tell. You don't want anyone else at the table reading you, because if you make even the slightest slip up, then the pros are going to know your hands instantly. So if your poker face looks like this, well, then Chuck E. Cheese is just down the road. I don't know why they built the Chuck E. Cheese across the street from a casino, but I would not recommend hanging out there. Now, once you've got your poker face, you're ready to start training. There's a lot that goes into winning a hand of poker. Know the rules and learn the techniques needed to take everyone else's money. You don't want to end up like the guy that thought that bluffing was an illegal move.
He didn't have a full house, and I had a winning hand. I trusted him.
Now, if you have a good hand, then you need to make the other players think that their hands are better. Don't scare them off too early. Ease them into it. Make them think that they're about to win and then activate the bear trap, or throw the bear trap at their face. Basically, anything to do with a bear trap, do that. Metaphorically speaking, of course. I'm pretty sure that if you throw a real bear trap at someone's face in an actual poker game, then I don't know, they'll probably give you a fine or something. It's not ideal. The same goes for if you have a terrible hand. If you have nothing but a high card, then try to make the other players think that you actually have a straight or a flush or anything else that you can bait them with based on what's already on the table. It takes patience and practice, but if you're willing to learn, then you can become a millionaire within 2 hands. That's way too enticing. I gotta tone it down. You can turn $10 into $12. That's a pretty good deal. Obviously, you need to have some sort of social skills. Act friendly and respectful to the other people. You want them to trust you, but you don't want them to walk all over you. Know how to lie and know when to lie. Keep them close, ease them in, and then take all their money and show them what a real friend looks like. It sounds harsh, but I mean, name a real friendly poker player. That's right, it can't be done. I don't have time to talk about all the ways to win a poker game, so like, read a book or something, I don't know. Number 4. Stakes. Watching a game of poker where the pot is only around $100 isn't really that interesting or fun to watch. There's not a lot of action, and what little action there is isn't all that exciting, seeing as how the stakes are so low. But when 2 players are in a game where the pot is like $80,000 or higher, that's the good stuff right there. Now, this is the kind of content that I'm not paying to see. To any traditional sports fans out there, it's like watching a game of football or basketball or something where your team is just so far behind that there's no chance of them coming back, but you keep watching anyway because you've got nothing else to do today. It's like that. I think what makes it more interesting most of the time is the fact that it's real money being played with. Coming back to the Sting, watching Lonergan bet $15K, which is like $300,000 in today's money, like it's nothing, is just insane to watch. I think we can all relate to the highs and lows of finance, the thrill of getting a lot of money and the fears of losing it. You see, in our modern day capitalist society, now, these are just some of the reasons why I find poker so enjoyable to watch, but I can't ignore the fact that these are literally the reasons why people watch sports in general. Suspense, strategy, skill, and stakes are all parts of why people watch the sports they watch. So what is it that makes poker special? Is poker better than just every sport because I personally find other sports boring? No, not at all. I'm not trying to convince you to stop watching something that you enjoy because I enjoy something else. That's ridiculous. And some of you in the audience, I'm sure, are never even gonna think about watching a match of poker in your life, and that's completely fine. But if that's true, then why the hell are you still here? Honestly, I'm more impressed than disappointed. You clicked on a video just called poker, and you don't even care about its subject matter. That's commitment. At the end of the day, poker is not for everyone, and that is completely fine. However, even if you don't care about poker at all, there's one factor that I think most people can enjoy about any sport, in fact, and it's one of the only things that I care about in other sports. Number 5, silliness. Poker is just really fucking goofy sometimes. Now, this is the case with most of, if not all, professional sports, but poker in particular is special because you actually get to see the reactions that people make when they lose all of their monthly grocery budget. Like, for regular sports, all of the freakouts are implied because you can't really understand what any of the players are saying or even see their reactions, mostly just because they're either wearing a big-ass helmet or they're just not mic'd. Here, you get a front row seat to the action. For this portion of the video, I want to focus on one player in particular. Phil Helmuth, my poker king. Now, Phil is actually a very notable guy in the poker space. He's won 17 World Series poker bracelets, and as of July of last year, he has earned over $29 million throughout his career. But I don't care about any of that. The real reason that I love Phil so much is that he is just such a sore loser when it comes to poker. If ego could become a person, I'm pretty sure Phil Helmuth would be used as the example. Some of the most iconic lines I've ever heard have come from Phil losing.
I think he's from Florida or someplace stupid.
According to Wikipedia, he's well known for his poker brat personality, sometimes leading to huge overreactions when other people are talking to each other or when someone lies to him at a poker table.
Oh, you lied.
Of course I lied. It's poker, Phil.
That's horrible etiquette to say you didn't look at your hand and you know, this really bad etiquette.
I trusted you.
I have watched so many clips of Phil losing his mind, and they are all fantastic. Frankly, I think I've seen more clips of him losing than I have of him winning.
Now I have to let her win the pot with ace-8 because I can't think it out, right?
What do you think set him off?
Playing bad.
There are many other players that I could talk about, like Phil Ivey with eyes wide enough to scare Medusa away, or Tony G just being an absolute asshole to everyone he plays with.
Look how it's playing. Look how ugly this is. You're a professional player and I can do this to you. You're a terrible player.
But I think Phil Helmuth is a prime example of what makes poker as goofy as it is.
I'm sorry. I think you should retire. I think it's over.
Now, as you may have noticed, the video is not over yet, and I have no idea how to segue into this next thing that I want to talk about, so we're just going to jump right in. I've known about this video for the past year and a half, and I just need to talk about it because I don't think anyone else has even mentioned it on the internet. So there's this video on the GG Poker channel, and it's pretty much your standard game of poker. You've got 2 guys that, frankly, I don't care about at all. Poker legend Doyle Brunson, rest in peace. Our boy Phil is here, and overall it looks like a regular game of poker. But then we have chess streamer Alexandra Botez, famous YouTuber Mr. Beast, and Texas Senator Ted Cruz. There's so many small things with this video that just baffle me. Like, let's start with the thumbnail. Why did they put it in the style of a Mr. Beast video? It just looks like he's gifting this sad old man $40 million. There are other videos on the channel that feature Mr. Beast, but they just use the standard thumbnail design that they use for all of their other videos. But for this specific one, they put it in the Mr. Beast style. Did they do this to appeal to children? What child is watching Poker After Dark on their mom's iPad? Second of all, Mr. Beast doesn't show up until the 36-minute mark. He played 2 hands, went all in, lost, and then the video ends less than 10 minutes later. It's a truly riveting experience. He was somehow the last person to show up at the table and the first person to leave the table. It's just weird watching poker pros making casual conversation with a chess champion, the biggest YouTuber in the world, and a man with 5 confirmed kills in the San Francisco Bay Area in 1968. There's this moment early on where Phil Helmuth just casually pulls out a box of Pop-Tarts, as you do at a poker charity event, and offers them to people around the table, and Ted Cruz takes one like, dude, don't give him one. There are potentially over 30 unconfirmed victims associated with them. I love scrolling through the comments because everyone's just like, everyone's so respectful. It's nice seeing some casual conversation here. Is it just me? I can't stop thinking about this. It's like a superhero crossover, but it's less like Endgame and more like Batman meets Ted Cruz. There honestly isn't a lot that happens in this video, and I ran out of Zodiac Killer jokes, so I think it's about time to wrap this up. In conclusion, keep gambling.
Yeah, baby, come on, Russian, get out. It's time to go. Yeah, you are gone, gone, gone. Feel the power. You feel my power, baby?